developed using the technology plan that we have. Our current technology plan expires in June of 2016. So next year we will be working to implement a new technology plan, and we've done very well in making progress towards our current technology plan, and then also the strategic plan has come into play in terms of developing the technology budget.
And can I interrupt for just a minute? I did make copies of the technology plan in case board members or committee members wanted to have a copy when they left, so I'll set those over there.
District-wide costs and divide them by 5. And now what I've done is divided them based on proportion of enrollment. So so it'll look like one went way up and one went way down, but the bottom line is the same. It's just the costs are more evenly spread out. Things like our emergency messenger service, things that we pay for the entire district. So the first thing I was going to start off with was what is going well. The projector project was mentioned a few times. This was a 3-year plan, or a 3-year goal we had, was to get a digital projector in every teacher's classroom. We are in the final year of that, with the exception of PCS, because they're bigger, they have more teachers. So next year we will have 7 more projectors to add at PCS, and then we'll be done. So that's a pretty big accomplishment. Every teacher will have a digital projector. We've also reached the point where we've standardized all teachers and administrators and some support staff to have the same technology. So they all use the same devices, which is an MLTI device, which is a MacBook Air and an iPad mini. Our iPads are being used extensively in the lower grades to support curriculum, and we're kind of looking at whether that's pre-K to 3 or pre-K to 4, and whether 4 to 6, more computer-centered. So those are some of the things that we're talking about. In the budget last year, the budget committee supported purchasing our new online inventory system for K-6. It's wonderful. Pre-K to 3 or pre-K to 4, and whether 4 to 6, more computer-centered. So those are some of the things that we're talking about. In the budget last year, the budget committee supported purchasing our new online inventory system for K-6. It's wonderful. We just got that online. It allows us to manage all our devices from a console, as well as push software out to them. And take it back, if the device retires or whatever. So that's been really exciting. The feedback at the middle school and high school, were 2/3 of the way through our 2nd year with iPads. Last year it was kind of like, I don't know. But the feedback this year is that everybody has adapted, things are going well, they like them. We've started purchasing apps specific to content areas and pushing those out. For instance, the calculators, kids didn't have to buy the TI $8,300 calculators this year. Instead, we bought the app for $19 and then pushed it out to them, so that families didn't have to pay for that. Things like that have been going really well. And you'll hear kids all the time saying they have to have their iPad with them. They can't be in class without it. So that's been really positive. We were plagued with printing problems the first year of the iPad project. We had 900 iPads that couldn't print. The addition of the print server that was supported in the budget this year has solved that. It's been wonderful. So that was really helpful and cut down on a lot of tech time. At the central office, we recently added a new file storage server. We've upgraded the wireless network and the wired network. I also wrote up full documentation of that network, which had never been done, so that they have less technology-induced interruptions in their workflow. And if somebody could walk in now and manage that system. And the other thing that has been really a time saver for our department is that with moving ADS and Versatrans to cloud-based services or web hosting, it has cut down on IT times and the Windows server support and overhead. cut down hugely. So I see that as a good thing. The next thing that I was going to talk about is what's included in the budget. Okay, so these are all the regular things that we need in the technology budget to keep things running as they are. So our Infinite Campus Managed Services program, we now have to pay for internet access. It's only $1 per student, but we do have to pay for it. This is the second year of that. It pays for, servers and network equipment, services, our printing contract, our emergency calling service, our email system, our inventory management system, software, and our MLTI costs. So those are all those are always going to be in the budget. Those are the regular costs that we incur. Repair parts and supplies. As our computers get older, those lines go up. When we buy new computers, those lines go down. And then included in this budget, as we talked about earlier, is a mobile lab for Poland Community School and for Elm Street School. So that's a laptop cart. We call it a mobile lab because it's essentially a computer lab. And by having it mobile, it can move room to room, and it doesn't tie up an actual classroom.
Yeah, when it was called laptop cart earlier, I literally initially thought it was a cart on which people put their laptops and it went. I didn't realize it was the cart with the laptops. Yeah, that's like $24,000 for a cart. That's ridiculous.
So it's actually a mobile computer lab.
Yes, so that's
really
for a public presentation, I got to say, calling it a mobile computer lab is a way better way of describing what that is to people than calling it a laptop cart. Could I ask a question, actually, a serious question on this?
Yeah.
Does Smarter Balance have any impact here?
Yes, I'm going to get to that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the laptop cart too, isn't that all the computers, laptops actually plug into it?
Yeah.
So it's wired.
No,
the
right.
cart.
I understand that now,
Yeah.
but initially my brain wasn't engaged.
It's
You didn't have caffeinated tea. You just had the green tea. My brain wasn't fully engaged. But I am serious about the.
self-contained mobile computer lab.
Yeah, but I do think when you do your public presentation, you're going to want to use mobile computer lab.
So when I talked my presentation through with the education committee, they gave me the same feedback, and they said at least call it laptops and the cart. And of course, as I got back into my routine, we all know what they are, and it came out the same way. So that's feedback that they said the same thing. So you're not alone.
Okay, and then the last item is the projectors, which we already talked about. This year we'll complete that other than PCS.
Linda, I'm confused about that. You said that PCS still has them, but there's $1,600 in Minnet and
So
almost 2,000
in this budget, we will complete the process for Minnet and Elm Street.
All right, that was my confusion. I thought you were saying all we had
Whittier
left.
and the high school got completed in this budget year.
Okay.
Next year, Minnet and Elm Street will be done, and half of what's left to do at PCS.
Okay. Yeah.
So the following year we'll do the other half, and then we'll be completely done.
Okay, got it.
So, so now we have to talk about what's not included in the maintenance and effort budget.
And if I can interrupt, this is similar to what you've seen for everybody else. So this was on her initial list that we talked and prioritized through, that if something had to go, what would it be?
So, we did talk about the fact that we had asked initially for 2 mobile labs for Poland Community School, and there were a couple of reasons for that. The mobile labs that they are using now are mainly MLTI machines. They're all 6 years old, very similar to the machines that are being used at Minnet and Elm Street. However, they also have 7 will be 8 years old next year computer lab. And that computer lab is used a lot for testing and other things. That computer lab I wanted to replace this year. Was going to replace it with a mobile lab so that would free up the room for Rick to whatever he might need another classroom for, and also allow more access for that lab to get out and be available for testing. That was one of the things that we decided in the course of the reductions to take, and we will be working to keep that computer lab running for another year. We have 2 screens we have to replace right now. We have, we've replaced hard drives this year, so you know, they're limping along, and we really want to get that replaced. So that's why that was that's why that was a priority over Minet's cart, because they actually have a 3-year-old one that's in much better shape. We also had budgeted for some ceiling-mounted projectors for the science labs at the high school and the middle school. And if we had done that, those projectors would have been moved to Poland Community School, and then Poland Community School's projectors would have been complete this year. However, you know, they're more expensive. The cost is not the same as putting a projector on a card. It's like $2,800, $2,400 a piece.
Expensive.
And the reasoning is because as you probably know how science labs are equipped with the big black sort of lab station in the front of the room where the teacher does everything from. There's no place to put the projector. It's kind of sitting right in the way. And there's also things on that table
Chemicals,
that
water,
shouldn't be around the projector. So
you
right
need
now,
one like that.
frogs.
Yes.
right. So this is what we were hoping to put in our science labs.
Similar to the ones in the library where the school board has meetings.
Right. So we did have 2 in the budget this current year. We put one in our computer lab and one in our main office conference room. So we were looking to add 6 and 2 on that. The last item, although it was not in the technology budget, and I didn't see it, it disappeared from
Yeah.
the K6 principals things. I don't know where it went.
You're covering it here, so that's good.
So those of you that have been around a while remember that when we consolidated in 2009, we eliminated our computer teachers district-wide. All those positions were eliminated. And to replace those in year 1 of consolidation, we hired 2 technology integrators. And we, you know, Mary probably remembers this very clearly. 2 of them were in her school. Teachers were upset and worried because they thought they were going to have to teach computer classes, and so we hired 2 technology integrators. Well, through these difficult years, over time, both of those positions have been cut. So we eliminated all the computer teachers, and now we have no technology integrators either. So the teachers are really kind of on their own doing technology integration, and then they're doing a good job. They are doing a good job. MLTI provides free professional development, and we sent a group of people to the Acton conference. We do a lot of expert down the hall workshops, but I hear it all the time, that the teachers really feel the effect of not having a technology integrator who is a teacher to help them use their technology more efficiently in their rooms with their kids.
And the integrator was there to work with teachers, to teach them how to use the technology with their students, not to teach like the computer courses. So again, technology changes every year. There are new programs and new, the iPads and all of that. So it has been a challenge for teachers to keep up with the technology changes, as you all are, I'm sure in your own jobs, in your own homes, dealing with the same thing. When technology changes, it can be a challenge if you don't have someone to help you work through how to use those appropriately. And like I said, we're using other teachers to do expert down the hall and outside conferences, but it's not the same as having somebody available right away.
So how many staff work in technology now?
So I actually meant to say that at the beginning. Currently, there is myself and Dave Haley. We both work full-time at the high school, the middle school, supporting those students, teachers, and 1,000 devices. And then I have 2 techs that rotate through the 3 K6 schools. After we consolidated, we had 1 tech per school, which is the ideal situation, that you have 1 person in each school, because things don't only happen on Tuesday; they happen on Thursday too. So we had 1 technician that was cut after the first year, and so I have 2 circulating through the 3 elementary schools, as well as I go when I have to. I send Dave when he has to. We support central office as well.
So there's 4 of you.
There's 4 of us total.
But that's all tech support. That's not
All
technology.
tech support, although we
integration.
all do
Right.
work with teachers.
Well, that's right.
Because they
But we're
have-
not, we're not teachers, doing curriculum with,
Yeah,
with
their,
teachers. We're-
their job is to keep the machines running.
Right.
The teachers' jobs are to use them in instructional purposes. And so there's quite a difference in what those two positions would do.
I mean, I do teacher training all the time, but it's not technology integration.
Right.
It's training.
Right.
So my total reduction was $72,156.
And that didn't include the integrator.
That did not include the integrator. So one of the things in the strategic plan says that I will report out on how we can use technology to improve efficiency and reduce costs in the district. I think we've done some of that so far. Again, I can't stress, it's probably hard for you to imagine what this mobile device management and inventory system is for K-6, but it's fabulous. It's the same system we have for our MLTI devices, 712. The time it saves and the efficiency that it allows because the technicians can manage the devices from a console instead of running to them. So it's really huge in terms of efficiency. Also, I don't know, I can't tell you, Wendy probably could, how much time I spent at the central office trying to keep the Windows server up and running and not crashing and this and that, so that ADS and Versatrans were online. The moving to the web hosting has completely eliminated that overhead.
And can you tell them just what Versatran and ADS is for
So
our
ADS
town
is our
officials?
accounting software. Sorry.
It's okay.
ADS is our financial software, payroll, accounts payable, everything. And Versatrans is our transportation system.
And so those are two systems that you can't have down.
Right.
Even for a few hours, it causes some very significant
And
problems.
we had, 3 or 4 years that it was down a lot. So a couple of things that I'm looking at, and these are kind of like, woo, future. I haven't even talked to people about them yet. These are just things that I'm toying with. Infinite Campus now offers an online registration module for new students. So right now, if parents are going to register new students, they come into the central office, they sit down with the registrar, they go through all this paperwork, it takes forever. They have to write it all out, and then the registrar has to type it all in. It's a big process. Well, they offer a modular now where you can have right on your website, register your student. So parents can do all that paperwork online, and all our registrar has to do is press a button to accept it, and it pushes it right into the system. So the parent doesn't have to write it all out. The registrar doesn't have to take that and retype it all in. It's something that we're looking at as we move towards possibly restructuring our database management positions. So, we're not saying we're going to do it, we're not going to do it, but it's something that we're going to consider as part of that possible restructuring. Another thing I've been looking at, and I'm trying it out this year, is this funky little rubberized iPad case. So right now, this is one of the state student iPads, and right now they come in these little sleeves, these little thin sleeves that if you drop it, crash, right? The screen breaks. We charge parents $30 use fee per year to use, for a student to use an iPad. And then we use that money to help pay for the ones that get broken, so that there's no cost to the school budget for that process. So if a student breaks a screen on an iPad, the family pays $100, but we pay $306. So that $30 use fee that we collect covers that cost, and it has always kept us right about breaking even. This is a new kind of interesting thing that there's only one district in Maine that's doing it right now. But it might catch on. So if you buy this case, first of all, you don't have to have a bag or anything. You can just carry it just like this. And I'm not going to drop this just because I don't want to break it, even though they tell me it won't. It also has a stand so that if you put it, Students can prop it up to use it. You can also hook an external keyboard up and have it propped up like this, so you know you're almost like got a little laptop. Also, this is the big thing. They cost $50, but that $50 includes insurance. So if you drop it and break it while it's in this case, you get it fixed for free.
So even though the screen's not covered, it,
Yep.
Oh, it doesn't have I wondered, like, the cell phone ones, you know, it has
No, it has nothing
clear
on it
shield.
because
Well, you've probably put one of
it's
those.
got a buffer on the
Oh, right.
bottom.
So if it
Yeah.
falls on that.
So the district that's using them this year said they've not had any broken screens. So, you know, we've probably had 20 broken screens. So it's just, I'm using 2 of them. I'm giving them to people to try, you know, to see, you know, how they hold up, whether kids would think they were weird, like, you know, are they awkward. So it's just another possibility of maybe saving money.
So would they not have the case like they have
They
now?
wouldn't need it. They could have it, the state still supplies them, but they literally can carry it just like this.
The only thing that would be is
Weather.
something pressed against the screen, right?
Right,
So
It's
yeah,
still-
I
You
mean,
can still
they
break
could
it.
still, you know, I actually haven't tried to see if this fits in
That's
the
what I
currently
thought.
supplied cases, because in Waterboro, they don't use them. They don't use the bags at all. A lot of the kids just slide, and they do this now, they just slide these in their backpacks. The other system that I've been looking at, and actually with Carol Depot, I haven't really talked to admin about it yet, is a bunch of districts in southern Maine are using an automated absenteeism and substitute calling system, so that it eliminates the person in every school every morning that's at 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning trying to make all these calls to call in subs. It's all automated. Teachers go in and enter, you know, their absence, and the subs go in and basically pick their jobs. And you can also access subs from outside your district. So we could access subs that are in Gray, or, you know, anyone that wanted to substitute can log in. They have to go through all the employment and process and all that. But it's just a possibility. So Andy Wallace, who's the tech director in South Portland, I had a pretty lengthy conversation with him about it, and he said it has saved South Portland schools a lot of money. They're a huge district compared to us, but he said it has saved them money. So it's not going to
where are the
replace an
cost
entire
savings?
position, but it allows for moving things around.
So where are the cost savings?
In all the people that are doing that work
Just
don't
that
have to do that
then maybe they
anymore.
could be
Because
doing
you're
some
paying
other
them by,
task.
or, yeah, you're paying them by the hour, and
Right.
they
They
may,
could have reduction
Okay.
in hours,
Oh,
or
okay.
they could
Okay.
do other work.
Yeah,
In
right.
those cases, they would probably end up doing
So
other
it's
work.
probably one
There's
person
always-
per building
there's always
that
work to
you
be
might
done.
be
well,
able to.
and they probably wouldn't be doing other work, though, at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. They might be doing something
Right,
during
and I
the
don't know,
work
you know,
day,
that-
or
so
they get
those
extra.
hours may be
Yeah.
reductions,
Well,
where they wouldn't
yes.
have to start work till 8.
Well,
Right.
exactly, so maybe they could work later in the day.
Yeah. So,
Linda, Tina has it.
Oh, sorry.
So is this a list of ideas you
Yeah.
have?
Yeah,
or
that's what it is.
priorities, or-
no, this is
Okay.
just a list of ideas, and the reason that I had all these things sort of in motion, and then I read in the strategic plan that I was actually supposed to report out on this type of thing, so I decided to add it. Normally I wouldn't bring something like this to you until we had made a decision, or, you know, we were trying to put it in the budget.
Right,
So these are just, you know,
some things you're thinking about.
some things that we're thinking about of ways to use technology to reduce costs.
Right.
So what's next? Okay, as I said, last year we completed the process of standardizing all teachers and administrators on one device. We kind of stepped back a little on K-6 because working with Kim and the principals, there was no real clear line about, all right, where do the iPads go? Where do the computers go? What's that look like? We've kind of come to a conclusion that the iPad focus is really pre-K grade. Sorry, I just put K grade, it's pre-K grade. And that kids 4-6 should start having some of that keyboarding and hands-on computer use. I mean, we want kids to be able to use basically any technology that they encounter. So 2 years ago, we took all of the MLTI laptops that were out of contract at the high school. We had 900 of them. And we moved many of them to K-6. And we did that to kind of give us some staying power. So we weren't ready to move ahead with like big purchases yet. We weren't really sure what we wanted to do, but at that time, PCS was using like 10-year-old laptops. So 5-year-old laptops were better than 10-year-old laptops. So we do have to replace these. They're aging. So next year they're going into their 7th year of service. We have a significant amount that we are using just for parts. So we kept all the we did have an employee sale too. So we sold them to employees in order to pay for them. So we had to pay $50 a piece to the state. So we sold them to pay for them. And then we kept all the ones that we couldn't sell or that really weren't good enough to be out there in the population as parts machines. So we're using all those parts machines to keep all these carts running. And that's why we need to start replacing the computers at these elementary schools. I get really worried about all of our K-6 students are using computers that are 7 years old. So they're not being exposed to new technology, which our strategic plan says we will do. The last item I wanted to talk about was the technology reserve account. So when we did consolidate back in 2009, we established the technology reserve account to help offset big ticket costs, like when we had to replace an entire computer lab. It was also in case something happened that we weren't, we didn't plan on, like a server dies that's just out of warranty or something like that. But it was going to be used to offset some of these big ticket costs. And so because like everything else over the years, the budget, has been tight and there have been so many concerns, that's one of the things that hasn't quite made it through. So I would really, every year I ask if we can put $10,000 in that account, and every year we don't because we can't. So I really would like the budget committees to look at that again, see if we can recommit to that, because if we had been keeping up with that, $10,000 a year is a lot less painful than $50,000 is next year. So if the last 5 years we had put the 10 in, I could just make those purchases without a $50,000 budget hit. And technology is never going away. It's always, we're always going to have it, and we're always going to need to make sure our kids and teachers have it. So I would really like to try to get that account funded again. Any questions about that? And then if you have them, and I can just quickly run through the budget.
Do you want me to project up what they have, Linda, or do you feel comfortable?
I think they all have this. It's called Check by Account. 2 pages, and it's got the little writing on the right-hand side, the notes. It can go a lot quicker than going through a whole school. So the whole first half, the first page, is salaries and benefits. That isn't anything that I control. And you can see how this is grouped. If you move right down, about halfway down the page, to purchase professional technical service, you'll see that listed 5 times. So that is that account for the 5 schools. That account is down because I moved email out of that. I moved our email system out of purchase professional technical service into software, which is what it really is. So this includes server and network maintenance, repairs. This is where we pay for our internet, managed services. Go ahead, Colleen.
Sorry, just looking at the way this is structured, you had made the comment earlier that you used to divide everything by 5, and now you kind of do it on a per pupil allocation. But some of the stuff is just divided by 5. So is there a difference between how you, like our staffing things one way and hardware, software is a different way, or
I
I'm just
believe
curious?
that they do I don't deal with the staffing, but I believe you do divide by 5, right?
All of you, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And part of the reason we do that is because we don't want a school to feel like, oh, Peter's mine. It really is, they are district level staff that are servicing
Okay.
any
All 5
place.
of us really do.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
So
so-
the staffing things are divided by 5,
Yes.
but again, the kind of the hard costs, so to speak, are divided according to enrollment percentage or something,
Yeah, if
roughly?
if we're charged $1 per student for something, it doesn't make sense that
Got it.
Minot is paying the
Right.
same
Perfect.
amount
Got it, got it,
that
got it. Thank
you.
PCS is.
The very last page in the packet I handed out shows enrollment and percentages, and this just shows you how the percentages of how I divide those district-wide costs. And that enrollment was of January 7th, that may be different today. But if it's 100% of a district cost, 28% gets charged to Poland Community, 14 to Whittier, 16 to Elm Street, 13 to Minot, and 29 to the high school. So that's the breakout. And then the next one is if it's a 7-12 expense only,
Oh,
it's 40,
Sure.
60, 40, and if it's a K-6 expense only, it's 49 PCS, 28 Elm Street, 23 Minot. So that's different this year
I forgot about the 712
Yes.
and how I
piece,
used
right,
to
right,
do
right.
it.
Okay.
So the next item is purchase professional service technical contracts. That is the district printing contract. That is one of those things that's pretty much divided by 5. It's probably the only thing in my budget that's divided by 5. The increase in that budget is because we have had a dead color printer at Minot Consolidated School all year. They have not been able to do any color printing, their teachers or anything. So we're replacing that. So we're not gonna see the color printing costs in that school in this year's budget, but we are gonna see it next year, so it's gonna go up. And we also are replacing the color printer at Poland Community School, which has had limited use because it's also holding on its last leg. So those two are up in the printing. The employee training and development, the bottom line is the same. The numbers change only because of the percentage redistribution, and that is just for the IT department staff. Technology repairs and maintenance is up because our inventory is aging, and as it ages, it requires more parts and more repairs. The next line is software-related repairs and maintenance. This is overall down, but again, it's the redistribution. The software repairs and maintenance are all of our contracts, like our emergency messenger service, our email system, those types of software-related things. Employee travel is flat, that is down, that is the same. That is just my department, so just the 4 of us. That is travel to conferences, workshops, and travel within the district. Technology-related supplies is down everywhere except for the high school because I need to upgrade the memory in the computer lab at the high school next year, so that's why there's an increase there. The next line is called technology-related hardware fixed asset. This is where our MLTI costs are. So this is where, actually both Kim and Ryan thought this was where the projectors were, but it's not where the projectors were. The projectors are in the regular hardware supply asset line. This is the MLTI cost for each school. The middle school only has well, actually, those are in special ed anyway, so don't mind. There are some ed techs that have MLTI devices, but those are budgeted through Holly and the special ed budget. So those costs are up for a couple of reasons. They're flat. They'll be flat now for the next 2 years, provided they don't add new staff. They're up for a couple of reasons this year. One, there were like 2 or 3 positions around the district that weren't on my radar. They were added and I wasn't quite aware of it. So I had to come up with new equipment. And then also what happened is when we signed the contract with the DOE to purchase devices for our K-6 staff, we had to agree that it might not be at the lower cost that we pay for the high school. It might be a little higher, and it was. And the reason for that is because they supply one-on-one devices to teachers to support students that are one-on-one. Well, we don't have one-on-one support in our K-6 schools, so we couldn't get that discount prices that we did. So we did have to pay the higher price, and that's why those are up. And like I said, those numbers will stay the same now as long as staffing stays the same. So the projectors are actually in the next line, the technology-related hardware supply asset. Those are where the laptop cards were budgeted. That's also where the projectors are included. And that's basically all that's in those lines, other than I do every year replace some computers for secretaries, you know. There are computers in use around the district that, you know, like every 5 or 6 years I have to replace, and I have like 3 or 4 of those in here this year.
And Linda, your projector lines actually went down because you have been adding those for several years now, is that correct?
Right, yeah. The next one is software. All our software lines are down, and I think mostly because of having iPads. We get a lot of free software on our iPads for the 7 through 12 devices, but even the software that we buy for the K-6 iPads is much less expensive than software traditionally used to be. You can buy a piece of software for 20 iPads for $20. So it's a lot less money. The dues and fees is flat. That's just 2 organizations that we belong to Actum, which allows us to access the buying consortium. So things come up that everybody needs, we can buy through Actum and get reduced prices. And if we need to buy software like Microsoft Office, which we have for all of our administrators and special ed staff, we can buy that at a discount of we can buy it for $50 instead of, you know, $300. And that's it. Most of our questions.
Linda, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So if I look back to like where the laptop carts and projectors are,
Yes.
and so look at, I guess the very first one, it says laptop cart and projector. So that's PCS, right?
Yes.
And so it looks like, right, in 15, it was like 7,300, 7,350. And then for 16, the budget is 35,588. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
So what does that actually represent? Like, I have no concept. What does the laptop cart cost?
The laptop
And then
carts
how many
cost.
projectors are there?
The laptop cart costs $26,000. The projectors cost $700 a piece. PCS is getting 8 projectors this year. Elm Street's getting 4. Mine is getting 4. I have the exact cost in here, but it's around $700.
So they're around 700,
Yeah.
and then they're getting, PCS would get 8,
Yes.
and then 4 for the other ones?
Yes. PCS actually needs 16 to complete the project.
And on the laptop cart itself, that's $26,000, you said, what, is there 20 laptops on that, or?
That's 22.
22 laptops?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tina, can you remind us again how much subsidy we get in technology?
pay?
Yeah, we get around 275,000, 285,000 actually, I think, in subsidy for technology. So you're seeing we're spending, 567, but the state covers about, well, our subsidy covers about half of that. So again, that's another cost that, the community picks up on top of what we get in subsidy.
The subsidy isn't for salaries though, right?
No, but actually, you're right about that. So your salaries would actually be coming in under the salary line. So if you considered that, we probably are, I'll add in the salary line and try to see that. They don't separate the technology, they separate the resources, like your equipment out.
The subsidy from the state is for the technology budget, not the salaries and benefits.
Yes, so, yeah, that will be easy for me to kind of say how much salary do we have, and that would, what percentage does the state pay for that?
So the other things that are in that line that you're asking about, there's $1,000 per school for if a computer goes down, a secretary computer goes down, something like that.
Reserve,
Yeah. Monitor, a spare monitor, UPSs,
Backup.
power backup, take home UPSs, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking as you're talking though, because so if you already sort of build in $1,000 per school in case of, which I, understand, in case somebody's computer needs.
Well, not just in case, some of that is that I'm actually gonna replace.
That
some.
you're doing it anyway.
Yes, yeah. So I have the breakdown. For the high school, we have 5, so Elm Street 1 and Minot 1. We did PCS 2, their 2 office computers this year. So those are all included in those numbers.
This is part of the technology plan and the regular rotation of changing out equipment.
For people that don't fall.
Just like
in-
Arlen has for the
They're
plow
not
truck, right?
MLTI, they're not, teachers.
Yep.
They're students, but they're, we still have people using computers.
Linda, the bottom line doesn't include the $10,000 reserve.
That's not. That is a separate warrant article. So there's also in that packet I gave you this technology budget overview that just kind of explains what's in each line and whether it's up or down in line.
So Linda, what we've done with the others, and I don't know if we've actually talked about this exactly, but we've talked about what is on our priority list. And if I'm remembering correctly, you had said it would be, if there was something else that you could get added, it would be another laptop, mobile lab
for PCS.
for PCS. So Kim, do you?
And at least half of the projectors
For
the high school.
Okay.
So what's that cost?
So the mobile lab would be
Well, it would be-
26,000.
It would be 3 at the high school and 1 at Whittier, so they're playing for $100
$100,
apiece.
yeah. So we're talking 26,000 for the cart and then, or the mobile lab, and then 24 times 4, you said? 9,600.
And that would also move 4 projectors to PCS, so next year won't have as many, right?
And again,
So they're all only-
yeah. And again, the difficult conversation came from projector that's not mounted is $700,
Right.
and one that's mounted is $2,400. And they essentially do the same thing, except one is more convenient, and it would be out of the way of other things in that science lab. So that again is where the
Well, and it's,
priority
it's-
comes for.
The technical specifications on a ceiling mounted projector are a little beefier than a cart projector.
Is that what that is?
Yes, that is.
And the 4
Boy,
would go.
I-
The 4 would
You
go.
gotta remember, I went to Minocona School.
They didn't have those there, right? They used to be overhead projectors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Piece of
Okay.
paper on. That's
Alright.
the equivalent of the old fashioned
Okay.
overhead projector.
All right.
After you did your calculations on your slide.
Yeah.
Oh, she just clarified.
Oh, okay.
And again, we're capturing the priority list, and when we get to the end of it, you'll see basically what the A team did as their top priorities. Some of these are actually down on a tier 2 or tier 3 list, so I will clarify in the end what, as a group, we've said, these are the number ones that we really feel are essential, that we would like you to consider first, before some of the others. And the group, you may feel differently than the A team does on some priorities, but we do want you to know which ones we've identified as our top tier, highest priority. And the nice thing about this is that the K-12 administration, including special ed, and Linda was part of these conversations, is that we were in pretty strong agreement about what the number ones were. And Carrie and Sean didn't touch on this in their presentations, but when the elementary, and Rick did a little bit in his, gave up his desire to have an additional half-time school counselor, Sean and Carrie said that was one of their number one number one priorities, because they have the residual effect of not having those positions earlier. And Carrie said it in a way that it really resonated for me and some of the others, is that, you know, in some schools you'll have students who will hurt each other, they're getting in fights, they're angry, and that's how it shows. And at Bruce Whittier and PCS, they're hurting themselves. And that, you know, just that's a different level of personal trauma that we don't want to have with our students. We want to provide the support sooner. So there's pretty widespread support for our priority list amongst the group. So.
Kim, I'm just wondering, since you've been keeping track of the priorities up there, whether under technology you want to put in the 10,000, the technology reserve, bracket it, because it's a separate warrant article, so it doesn't affect our bottom line here, but it just keeps us mindful that that would be part of the overall picture.
Thank you very much.
Not saying I'd vote for it, I just I'd make sure it goes up there.
You don't want to forget it.
Well, and that's part of that. You know, that's part of this process. Is that it is important to know what's come out or not being attended to.
Right, it's no different, well, it's the same thing as the capital reserve for
Yes.
facilities improvements.
Yes. Okay, we are